Howdy, partner. This is James from the Fit RV, and today I'm going to be installing a water filtration and sanitizing system in our new EKKO #1. Now, I thought about going in. I've done a little bit of reading of the manuals, and I thought about going through and just getting everything so I could make a slick, ooh, this went in easy. But where's the fun in that, right? If I don't have everything planned out at first, there's drama, there's excitement, there's probably blood. You guys will enjoy the video a whole lot more. So you're gonna be figuring this out along with me. But I don't think the install is going to be that difficult.
Famous last words.
Okay. Well, I may have to cut things or find plumbing adapters or something like that, but I won't be having to fabricate anything out of just thin air in order to make this install happen. I won't have to learn how to program a CNC router just to make this project happen so I can have a shelf for the cat to poop on. In fact, that is my new standard for mod ridiculousness. If you have to buy and learn to program a CNC router to make a shelf so your cat can defecate properly, then your project is just off the scale nuts. This shouldn't be anywhere near that bad. Okay, so let's first go over the filter that we chose and why we chose it. So we've got the Stealth 2x10 by Guzzle H2O. Now, why did we pick it? Well, first, we need a water, maybe I could prop that up and make it look nice. There. We need a water filter for NR because we drink a lot of water, and buying and bringing and lugging along bottles, that's just, we've got a 50-gallon water tank. You know, we ought to be able to do something with that, right? So there are three things that I'm looking for from a water filtration system. One, the water that comes out should be clean. The Guzzle H2O does this with a sediment filter, so there's not gonna be any gunk in the water. Number two, the water that comes out should taste good. The Guzzle accomplishes this with a carbon block filter with a 0.5 micron filtration rating. And then number three, the water that comes out shouldn't make you sick when you drink it. And that's probably the most unique part about the Guzzle H2O system is it's got this gizmo right here, an LED UV sanitizer. So it doesn't use a whole, it's not like one of those old school fluorescent tube light UV kind of sanitizer things. Little LED, and it's only on when water is flowing. So there's not a lot of power draw from this. So that's what we've got. Now I'm going to install it, I hope, we'll find out, in the outdoor kitchen compartment, or what would have been the other half of Mel's compartment there in our EKKO. The reason why is it's right under the galley. There are water connections there, and there's power there that I've found, and this thing does take power to use to run this LED bulb. So all three of those things are in that cabinet, and it's a good place. That's where we're gonna install it. And like I said, I've done a little bit of looking, but haven't totally figured everything out. The other thing I'm gonna be installing is this, which is a separate spigot altogether for the drinking water. So there we go, drinking water. That way, nobody gets confused about anything. It's always not, don't turn on the hot, only, so it's always gonna be clean water out of that. So with that said, I guess it's time to go ahead and get started. And I know from experience that the first thing I need to do is drain the water out of the water lines before I start unscrewing stuff so that I don't make a mess. So let's go get started with that. This will be fun. I will point out that Winnebago has included a water filter standard in the EKKO. It's just, you know me, right? Never enough. So I will be removing that. It's a Culligan model, and it works on just the cold water side of this faucet. So if you just use cold water, it would be going through this filter. We've used it, we've tried it. All right, so here's the filter. It just unscrews. Notice that since I drained the water, I am not being flooded. So we're just going to take this and we're going to drain it out in the sink up here. And we'll put this aside. We may find a use for it at some point. I have a bucket. Funny story about this bucket. I actually got this bucket when I was in 5th grade. if you can believe that. Because, and you can tell because it says Jim, and nobody calls me Jim. All right, so let's start by removing this. Removed. All right, a little splashing, but also not too bad. Huh. Yeah, so we do have that male to male problem here. So I'm going to have to work up some sort of a way to get that hooked into there. And then the cold water will, this is cold. Cold water will just run right up to the sink like normal. All right, removing the filter housing. Okay, now out here, we have this, another hot and cold spigot. We also have another one of these on the other side, and that's where I'd wash bikes if I was doing that. So this one can go, and we'll use just the cold water for the Guzzle H2O. I've been calling that the Guzzler, but that sounds kind of like a Batman villain, so I gotta stop that. We use the cold for the Guzzle H2O, and then the hot we'll just try to cap off somehow. So, now it occurs to me that maybe I should have done this before putting a wall here. Because, yeah, now I got a wall to contend with. Okay, first we're gonna unscrew this. All right, now what have we got holding this on? Oh, okay, cool. Cold, hot. The hot, this is interesting. This means that this hot water is on the Truma recirculating thing. That's why they switched to this braided hose. This could be useful at some point, so I'm going to save that. So, for now, let's say I put it here. Do I have enough room to remove the filters? Because there's this step here. It's pretty tight, but I can keep it there. Okay, so I had this thought. These being here are kind of in the way, kind of a pain for the Guzzle H2O installation. So I could probably work with it, but would it be more convenient? I noticed that there was this thing down here that said, you know, the fresh water drain, right? And this is just a drain for a hot line. And I removed the cover to see, and sure enough, I can get through. It's kind of a bear right now, but I'm wondering if it would make sense to bring these down here and have them come out here, thereby giving myself a whole lot more room to install the Guzzlemeister. So I think, so this flexible one, I'm pretty sure I can get down there no problem. I'm not worried about that at all. What I want to see is, can I get this one down to here? And then if I can, I have to make another opening in this plate, or make it extra wide or something, but I can do that. So let's just see if I can get those down here. And some zip ties. I'm gonna cut those off. I just had an idea how we could make this more fun for everyone at home. So it should be like, text "go for it" if you think James should take the water lines and move them down to the lower opening. Text "go for it" to 62143. Or if you think he should leave it where they are, say "play it safe." So we'll see which way. I'm also thinking too, we can make this some sort of a drinking game or something. Like every time I have to make a run to a home center, everyone has to take a drink, because that's coming. So, okay, here we go. Maybe every time I have to run to a home center, I could take a drink. All right, this one should be no problem. Come on, don't be. I said you were going to be no problem. And we're hung up on something. This one is going to be the bigger challenge. So I'm going to put this back up here for now. It'll go. It's just there's extra pipe up here. I think what I just need to do is commit to doing it and then just pull the pipe down. And then that'll be either it'll work and I'll be brilliant, or there'll be like a plumbing line in here with an open end that I can't grab, and that'll be terrible, and I'll have to remove the refrigerator to make this happen, which is how things normally go. No, I'll do it. Well, I mean, I will cut the wall if I have to. We had a suggestion from Stephanie to cut the wall. I'd like to use that as a last resort. I know I can cut it if I have to, but I think what I can do is just cut this maybe to here and then pull it, and it'll just pop right out there. And then I'll just have to amend this and leave that tied up inside the wall. We're going for it. No going back now. Ha! There we go. All right, this one I'll just cap. It comes from above, weirdly. It probably just splits off the main faucet. All right, so that worked. So all of those of you who bet on go for it, give yourselves a point. Those of you who bet against me going for it, take a drink. All right. I think I'm kind of, so now I can put this thing darn near anywhere. So now I need to make a kind of shopping list of sorts of things. And the way this works is I make a list and then I go to the home center and stand in the plumbing aisle looking at a giant wall of plumbing fittings for about like an hour and a half until I get something I think will work. And I'll bring a few parts with me, you know, like I'll bring one of these, you know, quick connect things to make sure I get the hose diameter right, you know, and this is just 1/2-inch packs that I'm pretty comfortable with. But yeah, it's gonna be like, you know, another hour and a half or so before I'm back out here, but. All right, well, round one. I went blue instead of orange this time. We'll see how that goes. So I had some potentially interesting finds. So, let's start with this. I thought it might be nice if I had like a shutoff, a ball valve to shut the water off to the guzzler, the Guzzle H2O water filtration and purification system. So I got one of these, snaps on, PEX push to fit, and then it goes 3/8 inch out of that. So I realized that they give you a bunch of connectors with barbs and stuff on here, but I realized that this is actually just meant to accept that pipe straight up. It's another push to connect fitting. So I just got some 3/8 inch outer diameter, 1/4 inch inner diameter push to connect fittings. So we're gonna bypass all the hose clamps and hose and barb fittings, and we're just gonna go straight to this PEX. And so I got some parts in here to go with the compression fitting to make that work. Inside, I got a plug. Weird. How did I get two of those? Inside, I got a plug. Why do I have two of these? What happened? Anyway, to plug up the hot water line inside, it'll plug up something that looks like this. I found a way, this thing right here, we can pull inside. So we'll be pulling that inside, and yeah, so we're just gonna get started and see if this stuff works. So you may not get this first part on camera because I'm gonna need Steph to kind of help with it. But all right, Steph, what you're gonna do is you're gonna come over here. So I'm going to pull on this fitting, but first I'm going to tape a piece of this to it. Maybe. Let me think about that for a minute. But anyway, I'm gonna pull on this fitting and you just need to make sure to feed it through. This is the small PEX pipe that will actually be the drinking water nozzle. And I used it as a fish line, and I've removed, oh, don't go down in there. So now I've removed this, and so instead of capping it off down below, I have to cap it off right here, which means, oh, a different kind of cap. So that's gonna be trip number 2. I'm not gonna go right now, but there'll be another trip coming up shortly for that. Yay. Okay, well, while I'm in here, I also needed to reconnect these two. And unlike this one where we had a male and a female fitting, here I've got 2 male fittings. And I looked and looked for some sort of elegant solution and I couldn't find any, but I did eventually find something. So let me go get that and then we'll just fix that up right now. So it's basically just a little faucet stub pipe thing. So I'm going to attach it to both sides. So the answer to what size wrench does that take is always all of them. Because no matter what you guess, you're never going to get it right the first time. At least I don't. There we go. I've decided to go ahead and mount this bracket now, just so that I have some sort of frame of reference for how much pipe to leave and that sort of thing. So, all right, my wax pencil is melting. It's so hot out here. Yeah, okay. Alright, so this is a compression fitting on this end. Okay. Got the little compression nut on there. It did not come with the stiffener that typically goes inside, so I tried getting one and putting it in there. Come on there. But then it didn't seem to fit as well. Like it doesn't seat all the way into the fitting. So perhaps with these smaller diameter PEX pipes, the stiffener is not required in the compression insert. I guess we'll find out, probably the hard way. So there we go. All right, and now let me get every wrench I own, and we'll tighten that up. All right, looks like I can cut this end about there. Alright, we just plugged the back end into the Guzzle H2O water filter and sanitizing system. Ah, there. So that'll go like that. I can put in the other 2 retaining screws and it should be good on this end. All right, well, it was a bit of a challenge to get it mounted up just because of the tight clearance up here and the fact that I can't see back there, but I got it mounted, so it's there. I'm just about to put the filters back on, which I hopefully have room to do. One. 2, and these are all just push to connect fittings. So I've got one back in there, and that connects up to this compression fitting here, and then here, this is the one that runs upstairs, and I just pushed it into there. While I'm out here and it's all hot and miserable, I thought, why not? Let's go ahead and finish up the electrical. Get off of there. So this needs a little 12 volt, right, to plug up in there. and they give you the plug. There is 12 volt power. See this? This, had you gotten the exterior kitchen, would be power for the exterior kitchen. Now this runs off the same circuit as the main refrigerator, so it's fused at 15 amps. This needs a fuse at 2 amps. So I'll need to put in a little inline fuse before we get to that. But I did remember to pick up an inline fuse holder when I was but I still got to go back anyway. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to chase this wire. I'm just going to unclip it maybe and run it, bring it back to here, and then we'll splice in the wires for the Guzzle H2O water filter and sanitizing system, and we'll plug it in. And all right, so I need zip tie clips. Let's start with that. You know what? Forget it. We're just gonna cut the wire. There. So much for the zip tie. Oh, it's tied up with something else. Oh, man. Yep, it's taped up. Okay, now this is the wire for the Guzzle H2O, and they've given me 15 feet here, which is about 17 feet more than I need because I've already got this much wire. So really all I need is this on the ends of this and then plug it in there. So I'm gonna cut a large portion of this. All right, enough untwisting. Do you ever just get the twist tie? Just no matter what way I was gonna twist it, it was not gonna come open. Done. Ha! Thwart me, will you? All right. So apparently the positive side of the cable is the one with the dashes, and negative side is the one with the writing. So carrying that through to this end. Good. Now, Winnebago wiring, the yellow is positive, and the white is negative, or ground. Wiring in the fuse holder. Shh. More heat, must have more heat. Okay, so the Guzzle H2O wanted a 2 amp fuse. I don't have any 2 amp fuses, but I have a 10 or a 5. So I'm gonna get a 5 and put that in there until I can get a 2 amp fuse. All right, note to self. 2 amp fuse, if I can find one, on the next trip. All right, I'll still have to check for leaks when I get it filled up with water, and I gotta take the covers off the filters and all, but so we've got the fuse in there now. That's all sort of tidied up over here. I've got this cover back on. I cut out just a little notch, and then I put some of that on there just to kind of guard the edges so that, you know, they wouldn't rub into the PEX tubing. So there we go. I think our outside install is done, and we still have power. So we're good to go. All right, well, for those of you drinking along at home, that's trip number 2 to the home center. But I'm gonna close this door because it's hot. The good news is that we're working inside from now on. And I've got 3 different ways that I might be able to fix this issue here. And the issue I'm talking about is that male end of something sticking up into nothingness. The first way is the simplest, and basically we're just going to try to put a cap on it. I'm not sure if that'll work. I've got some cone washer. I don't understand. So plumbing is my nemesis, right? Like, I don't understand why there have to be 19 different standards for ways to join pieces of pipe. There's like flare, there's compression, there's FIP, MIP kind of threads. There's push to connect. There's like, seriously, there's like 19 different ways when there really don't need to be that many. So this one, apparently, oh, am I even going to be able to get that washer in there? See, this is the problem. So there's that. I don't know if you can see that. And the way it worked is, and what it was connected to before, which was just a piece of hose, it just basically, the end of this jammed up against the cone washer like that, and then you tightened it down and it sealed it, and that stopped the leak. So I got a cap, but without a washer in there, it's just going to be the threads that are preventing water leaking. Now I could wrap it with Teflon tape and all, but that's kind of hokey. So I got these washers, but I can't get the washer to go down in there. Let me take this inside and see if I can work at it or get a different washer, and then I'll be right back. All right, so I went and found a different washer, and hopefully this works. Now, I won't know if it works until I can turn the water back on. So I have my doubts, because it would be most inconvenient to wait until I got the water turned back on and then find out it didn't work. So I'm guessing that's what's going to happen. All right, am I making contact with the washer yet? I don't know. We're going to tighten it up good. Hopefully that holds. All right, so now for the fun part. So that's kind of it down there, except we have to run the faucet. This being the faucet. Now, well, Steph's here. Steph, where do you think this should go? Should I just put it here? Should I put it here? Should I put it here? What do you think? Where should it? Because I got to drill a hole first, right? So it's going to be.
I don't like it there. I like it, yeah.
There?
That part of, anywhere along that part of the sink we don't use.
Okay, so along the back part of the sink. So say there. That'd be all right. Okay, so after a brief conference, we have decided that the faucet will go more or less here. And it'll only be like that high. And the reason why is we don't want to be banging into it with this thing, mainly. Although we could, I suppose, conceivably still bang into it. But I don't imagine we're going to move this one all that much. So it's going to go right there. And according to the instructions, I need a 1/2 inch hole. Now, I do know how to drill holes, and I ought to be able to make that happen. So that's next. Now, quick check underneath. Yep, there's nothing there. There's some wires down there, but they're not up against the countertop. And hopefully I can get all the way through this without wearing out the battery. We'll see. Piece of cake. Yeah. See, that stuff I can make happen. Plumbing, nemesis. All right. Insert the faucet stem into the hole in the countertop. Done. Okay. Now, install tubing. Not that tubing. This tubing. Where's the other end? It's a quick connect, so I just push it up in there, I guess. There. It's connected on that end. All right, so they only sell this shorty tubing in 5-foot lengths. Looks like I needed about 8 feet to do this whole project, so we're just going to cut the tubing. I got a connector here, and we're just going to join the two pieces together. So here we go. This is the one from the water filtration and sanitizing system. There we go. And push. Ta-da. Okay. And then you'll be cut like right around there, maybe. There we go. Okay, well, I guess that's it, except check for leaks. So, ladies and gentlemen, place your bets as to whether or not you think we're going to get any leaks. Let me clean this up a little. So, places that I think it might leak are from this Hokified brass cap that I had to put on there, right? That's something I disturbed. From this one right here, not totally happy with that connection. The push to connect I'm pretty good with, so I'm fairly confident those will be okay. And then there's one outside that I think might leak. So there's 3 potential candidates for leaks. But before we can do that, I got to like unwrap the filters and get those ready to go. So let's do that. Carbon block filtration. So this is the 0.5 micron carbon block filter. And this is the sediment and gunk pre-filter. And then the UV light is still working. All right. This is open, that's on, so we should get water back up top. So we're good at, wow, this side, that's hot. It is 113 today. Keep going, keep going. Look. All right, so let's do the hot too. Cold. It's not cold. It's 100 degrees. Let's check outside. Up, we got a leak. Sure enough. All right, I think I got this leak resolved, so we're gonna check. So, what I did is, and yes, I admit this is kind of hokey, but I wrapped up the little olive compression nut on there with a little bit of Teflon tape, and then tightened it back, but not quite as tight as I had previously, and it seems to have stopped the leak. This has been out here for about an hour and a half now with the pump on. So, got a tissue. Bone dry. I got nothing. All right, it's cooler in here. All right, so this is the faucet for the Guzzle H2O Stealth 2x10. Maybe that's what I should have been calling it all along. So let's check these things, which I thought might be leaking. Get nothing on this one. That is just bone dry, and then this one over here, I got nothing. And the pump, like I said, the pump has been on for about an hour to an hour and a half, and my tissue test is coming up empty. Now, I've been running this thing off and on for an hour. Probably put several gallons through it already, but we'll let it run. That water is not a pleasant drinking temperature. It's so flippin' hot here. Looks clear. No smell. No taste, but it's not a great temperature for drinking, so. Cool. Now, that's not a proper taste test. That's just an initial test of that. Reason being is to do a proper taste test, I want to clean and sanitize the freshwater tank and the rest of the freshwater system. And that involves like dumping a bunch of water and then refilling a bunch of water and dumping it and refilling it. And you're not going to get that in this video. Maybe I'll do a video on that, or maybe I'll just do it and be done with it. Anyway, once that's done, we'll have like a proper taste test of Guzzle H2O water versus maybe tap water versus, you know, bottled water versus our reverse osmosis water from the house. We'll give all that a try in a later video. But I think I'm going to call this install wrapped up for today. Okay, now we've been kind of taking it on faith that the Guzzle H2O is doing its UV sanitizing thing, but there's actually a little way you can tell. So we've seen the green light that lets you know you've got power, right? So there's a green light that's on there. But when I open that faucet and it starts to sense water flowing through, that another light will come on. I'll go do that. You stay here. Faucet on. See the blue light? And faucet off. And it's off. So it is using a little bit of battery power to run that light, but you know, not much because they want a 2 amp fuse, right? But it's only using that when the water is running. So as far as like power consumption concerns, I don't have any with this thing. This is going to be great. Okay, so how do I extricate myself from this video and project? Well, I did hit some difficulties, although the difficulties didn't really have anything to do with the Guzzle H2O Stealth 2x10 product itself. It more had to do with where wires, or not wires, but where pipes were routed and where I wanted them to come out. It was the physical laying out of the pieces in the galley that was more difficult than anything to do with hooking up the actual product. The product to hook up, like I said, was pretty simple. And you know, there was a water filter in place that helped a little, but you know, the water filter that was there was fine, but I never stop at fine, so here we are. All right, so for those of you keeping score at home, let's see, we had a total of 3 trips to the home center. I went twice for parts, but I've got to go a third time because I need to find a 2 amp fuse for the Guzzle H2O, for the LED light. So 3 trips to the store. Give yourself 3 drinks. Enjoy that. Let's see. What else? No tantrums, but there was one episode of bleeding. I got a little pinch on my thumb from like a blood blister when I was doing some of that wiring stuff there. Something popped onto my thumb. So we had some blood, so it was a project. And like I said, final taste test of the Stealth 2x10 from Guzzle H2O, that'll have to wait for another video, and also for water that's not, you know, 112 degrees, because that's just not great to drink. So I guess that's it. Nothing more to see here, so move along. See y'all later. Bye.